All right, so let's jump into negotiations, and we're going to split this up into three different sections. We got the preparation before we get to the table, process goals, that's at the table doing the negotiations, and then finally postmortem, that is after we leave the table, and that's the one that always gets missed. But for now, we'll start with preparation. And I know some are out there thinking, man, I'm a coach. I'm not a salesperson, but really, believe it or not, we are all in sales as a coach, as a sports parent, an employee, a manager, a business owner. We are negotiating every freaking day. So we got to be able to negotiate. And really effective negotiators follow that three-step process is doing the prep work on the front end, sitting down at the table with process goals, and then postmortem. So for preparation, which we're talking about today, got to do that work on the front end when preparing to negotiate. I think through first, is this going to be a one-time, a one-off relationship like buying a car, beat the hell out of the salesman for some floor mats? Or is this going to be a situation where we see the other party down the road? So we're thinking of if you've been through a divorce and you get the parenting plan with the custody and the child support, that is never a done deal. You're going to see that ex-spouse down the road for years to come. So that's going to impact how you deal with them with negotiations. So we really got to think through when we're dealing with people repeatedly, like the ex-spouse, colleagues, other people in the industry. What are the other party's interests? So you got this person on the other side of the table. You want to reach some kind of agreement, and you got to figure out what are the other party's interests behind the positions that they hold. And this is really important. You got to make that distinction between positions and interests. Positions are typically negotiable, but interests are really non-negotiables. They're not going to budge on that. So it's really important to understand the difference. So here's kind of an example, and some high school coaches might have come up with this, might have come across this. So think of your high school coach and you get this really demanding sports parent. It's a sports mom. She is type A. She's aggressive. She played high school sports. She played soccer in college. And she demands that her son is going to play quarterback on your team. That's her position. He's going to play quarterback, or she's going to shop her goods elsewhere and look for a different school. So her position is her kid's got to play quarterback. So now you got to kind of dig in and ask some questions, dive in, try to find out what are the interests behind this position. So you find out she demands that her kid plays quarterback because she thinks that's the best way for him to get a scholarship at college. They don't have a lot of cash. She's really got to get that scholarship. It's a legitimate concern. So the position, kid's got to play quarterback. The interest, she wants her son to get a scholarship to help out financially. So now you kind of know the position and the interest. Now we got to go to work, got to ask some questions. So really what we're going to have a conversation with her about is you're going to say, hey, it looks like it sounds like you're really concerned about getting a scholarship. That makes sense. Realistically, your son's not going to start at quarterback. He's built physically and mentally to play in the defensive backfield or as a receiver. That's the bad news. Here's the good news. It sounds like your interest is you want to get a scholarship, and there's really only so many scholarships for college quarterbacks. If you're a quarterback, if you're a long snapper, a punter, a kicker, you only need so many of those guys on the team. But you need a ton of defensive backs and you need a ton of wide receivers at the college game at this point. So that's a numbers game. Your interest is you want your kid to play quarterback. So if we move him to defensive back, maybe wide receiver, that's going to open up a lot more possibilities to get that scholarship. So the position, what's flexible, negotiable, she wants her kid to play quarterback. The interest, sports mom wants her son to get a scholarship. That's what we really got to focus on, and that's why we got to ask those questions. So if you're thinking about those interest-based positions, you might have read Getting to Yes by Fisher and William Ury. And that's a great book, but it's been around for a couple decades. And there's two kind of competing schools right now with these negotiations. There's the Getting to Yes method, which is kind of separating the emotions out. You want to kind of separate the message from the messenger, and that's great. There's still room for that. Kind of on the other side is the System 1, System 2 thinking, which is Daniel Kahneman and Chris Voss. Definitely want to look up Chris Voss on YouTube. He was an FBI hostage negotiator. And kind of that system one, system two approach is you got to think that, yeah, we want to be rational and kind of get the emotions out as much as possible at the table. But at the same time, we're all basically monkeys with flip-flops, a pair of Dockers, and a polo shirt. We fell out of the tree. We fell out of the tree. We can work a typewriter, but we still work first from that emotional standpoint. Once we get through the emotional part, then we start working on the rational side. So kind of that system one, the emotions, system two, the rational side, but you got to get through the emotions first. So two kind of competing interests that you want to read through. But again, this is the first part of negotiations. Do the preparation, kind of think through what the positions are, what the interests are, and go to work on the interests. And again, kind of keep in mind, we got to expect once we get to the table, things get heated. Got to work on the emotions before we get to the rational side. So that's it for preparation. Next up is going to be the process goals, and that's when you are sitting at the table. So that is going to come up on the next session, and hope this helps.